Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, we're going to go back in and talk about JURRAC'S. I know I already did a video similar to this one a couple weeks ago, but this one's going to be a little bit more in-depth because, honestly, that was more of a perspective view of, like, what does JURRAC have? We have a lot of people who like JURRAC'S from our poll we did on what people wanted to see in Terminal World 2, and it performed pretty well. And so I went specifically over the JURRAC cards. I didn't go as in-depth on the dinosaur cards, and I think that's actually the most important piece, low-key. So we're going to be going more in-depth on that stuff today, just doing more, just really digging further into the JURRAC stuff, and then we'll end up talking about more of the other generic dino cards that should have actually pretty relevant, synergy with whatever comes for JURRAC. So yeah, JURRAC's one of the only two archetypes actually officially confirmed for Terminal World 2, that along with Fabled. We'll probably do a separate video for Fabled in just a little bit, but for today we're talking JURRAC. So we need to start with the JURRAC cards that are even any sort of playable. Last time I showed you some of the cards they have. Their cards are legitimately one of the worst archetypes in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially for how many cards they have. Let's go through this, because I left out like 20 different JURRAC cards. These are the cards that have any sort of semblance of somewhat playability. Let's start off with Storiko. If this card's destroyed by battle, you summon 2 JURRAC tokens. Terrible. It has to be destroyed by battle. Awful. JURRAC Velo. If this attack position card attacks or is attacked and is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can summon a JURRAC monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck. Again, battle-oriented, but it's oriented on you losing the battle. We do not, even if Konami wants to make this a battle phase-oriented strategy, you can't make a battle-oriented strategy that's predicated on losing the battle. So yeah, this card's pretty bad as well. JURRAC Aeolo. This card has seen play before just because it's a level 1 dino tuner that could be summoned off of Miscellaneousaurus. That could still be relevant here. But otherwise, it's not really that important. You contribute it to summon a level 4 lower JURRAC from grave. That's not there could be a combo where you go through like a central level 4 lower JURRAC monster, and you go through a combo where you get this off of Misk or something, and then you summon back that monster. I could actually see that being like a thing that happens, but other than that, he's mostly just a dino tuner that's level 1. JURRAC Dino, once during each player's end phase, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's monster by battle this turn, you contribute a JURRAC monster you control to draw 2 cards. Again, this is end phase of a turn he was destroyed by battle, and you still have to have a JURRAC on field. That is so, and you have to give it up. This card, again, not good at all. None of these cards are good. JURRAC Guaiba, this one's the closest one to being like okay if they wanted to build a strategy more around a card like this, but you'll see it's still like If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon a JURRAC with 1700 or less attack from your deck. It cannot declare an attack this turn. That's one of the better ones. At least if you're going to have a battle-oriented strategy, you can at least make the deck strong enough where you're actually giving it support where it is running over stuff semi-consistently. And that way a card like this is resolving. But in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! Going second, like into battle phase, you have to have broken aspects to your strategy like Tenpai does to be able to make that work. And this deck just does not have anything of that level. But this is the closest thing other than Aeolo to playable. Next up we have JURRAC Hera. When a defense position JURRAC monster you control, except for Hera, is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from hand or grave. Again, it's battle-oriented. It has to be a defense position JURRAC. It's just bad. It's just so bad. JURRAC Monoloth. This card is a level 3 tuner, which does give it a little extra leeway here. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. That's also kind of interesting because he's already at 1500, so if you can just play anything that buffs him, even if it's Lost World that debuffs all your opponent's stuff, he essentially becomes like 2000 just with Lost World. So if you can buff him even more, he could be semi-useful in running over boards. And because he's a tuner, he's probably the best one so far. JURRAC Impact. This is the only playable spell or trap for the JURRAC cards. If you control a dinosaur with 2500 or more attack, destroy all cards on the field. Nasty. That is nasty. I think this card has some potential to be playable. Now, the question here is, if this deck isn't its own deck and it has to be splashed with dinos, we don't want to have to be destroying all of our dinosaur cards. unfortunately. But we could still have stuff like Lost World or whatever, where we're able to like protect some of our dinos on field by popping babies in deck and then summoning from deck after this card resolves, and still rotating a good amount of resources. But of course, you know, that's getting into the more specifics on would this card even be searchable with new JURRAC support? Is it still something you even want to aim for? All that stuff, right? But it's pretty easy to set up any dino with 2500. I love that this doesn't even require a JURRAC on field. Any big dino, which dinos can do pretty easily. Next up, and the last card I think for the actual JURRAC cards, is JURRAC Meteor. This card's also not terrible. The only thing I hate about this card is that it requires specifically a JURRAC tuner, not any other tuners, and 2 or more non-tuner dinos. So you're probably playing this deck in dinos anyway, so the dinos isn't the hard part, but the fact that you need 3 monsters to make this, and what does it do? On synchro summon, destroy all cards on the field, then you can special summon a tuner monster from your graveyard. So it even destroys itself and then just summons back a tuner. Like, it's fine. I guess I could see this as like almost a going second tool, but even in that regard, like when you're going second, you're going to telegraph what you're doing so obviously by putting the JURRAC tuner and 2 dinos that add up to the whatever this is. I think this is 11 or 10. Adding up to this level, as long as people know that this card exists, they're like, oh, I'm not going to let him wipe the board, or I'll already have a negate in place. So that way we can just negate it when he comes out. Like, I don't really see this card coming up unless we can maybe quick synchro into it on the opponent's turn in like a really clean fashion, like maybe synchroing with materials from grave or something, where we don't have to like end on just 3 dumb dino bodies on field that you would rather be turning into something better. Maybe I could see that, but otherwise this card, you know, it kind of has a couple hoops you have to jump through, which I don't love. And now this takes us to the dinosaur portion, just the generic dino cards that you have to keep in mind no matter what direction they go with these cards. Oviraptor can probably search all these. I'm assuming that all the new monsters will be dino. JURRAC, Soul Eating Oviraptor is going to give you super consistency with that because it can either add them to hand or dump them, even if they're better being dumped. That's another cool factor with him. And even has that bonus effect to revive something as well, which could come up. Miscellaneousaurus, obviously. We already talked about Aolo, but if any other lower level ones, Miscellaneousaurus is more broken the more better lower level dinos we get, just because he can activate like super early and actually like play through interaction and stuff, rather than needing you to get 4 separate dinos in grave, which you don't want to have to do. But yeah, really, really powerful card. Obviously, Animador and Archosaur. If there's any synergy, all the old JURRAC cards are based on like either being destroy battle or destroying something by battle. At least Archosaur destroys something by card effect from hand or field. So if maybe they kind of revamp them to give them kind of the Unchained kind of float effects, where it's just if they're destroyed by anything, card effect or battle, they float, then this card becomes a lot more interesting for them. It also searches you Evolution Pill, which if they do get a new maybe main deck boss monster, then maybe even Evolution Pill is actually trying to summon them. We'll have to wait and see. Next up, the babies, Baby Ceratosaurus and Petite Pteranodon. When they're destroyed by card effect, they summon, Baby summons any level 4 or lower, Petite summons any level 4 or higher. So depending on levels there, that could be a factor. The babies have long since been a factor in dinosaur decks to be able to keep floating. They're 9 once per turn, all that stuff. Maybe even this new engine with JURRAC'S could even give us extra ways to pop the babies by card effect, which would be really cool. Evoltile Mega Chirella, also pretty spicy card here. So Mega Chirella has a couple different things. So he can tribute a reptile monster, then discard 1 card. He would be tributing himself and discarding a card to summon any level 6 or lower fire dino straight from the deck. Now usually summoning Evolsaur Lios, I think, is no, Lios is the extra deck one, I think. Can't remember what oh wait, didn't I bring it up here? Yeah. Oh, it is Lice. Okay, cool. You're summoning from him from deck, but this is any level 6 or lower fire dino. So even in regular dinosaur decks, we actually don't have to go for the Evolsaur stuff potentially, because if we get a new JURRAC engine and they include level 6 or lower dinos, now this card is tutoring for those. So we'll have to see what they do, but this card does get the access to them, and this is a level 1 fire, which also opens up the possibility of regularly playing like the Sinful Spoils engine with Dia Bellstar in dinos, because it just gets you to Mega Chirella, then Mega Chirella gets you to Maybe still the Evolsaur engine, but also maybe the JURRAC engine if it slots in there nicely. We'll have to see. There's also Laios. The important part about Laios, he does a bunch of stuff, but the big thing about him is just, let's see. During your main phase, if you control this card that was normal or special summoned by the effect of a fire monster, which is normally going to be Mega Chirella, you can send one fire or reptile dino from your deck to the graveyard. So again, all the JURRAC'S should be fire dinos, which means this is just an additional way to Foolish Burial any of those. So that actually could matter as well. Transcendentsaurus Meteorus is a card that has not really seen any play in dinosaur decks, but there's a world where it could. So one, again, with those float effects, this card does quick effect during your opponent's turn, destroy 2 other dinosaur monsters from your hand or field. So again, if they float on destruction, period, with card effects as well, this card is able to trigger them that way. But the other big thing is that if this card is special summoned, you can send any dino from deck to grave. So a third way to Foolish Burial dinos. You have Oviraptor, you have Evolsaur Laios, and you also have Meteorus here. That's pretty wild. But yeah, not that I expect that to be out of this world amazing, but it is just something to note. Now we get into spells and traps. This is where you see like an insane amount of searchability in the deck. You start with Fossil Dig, adds any level 6 or lower dino. Usually this is getting Oviraptor, but when you already have Oviraptor, this can be getting some JURRAC stuff maybe if they're good extenders, right? Ground Xeno. This is a pretty interesting card as well because this card really hasn't been too good yet, but it is a card that I look at and I go, this could be quite nice. So first off, this card adds any dinosaur tuner or dinosaur normal monster from deck to your hand, then destroys a card in your hand. It also lets you fusion summon by like banishing itself from grave. So it does double duty, but even just the search effect. One, this is the first real like dinosaur synchro strategy that actually could be coming along as like a legit boost to dinos, actually leaning into that synchro side. So they're going to have tuners. So this card probably will be able to add one of the new cards. I would imagine there's going to be one good new dino tuner. And this card probably searches it. Secondly, I keep talking about it, if they up their level of flotation to destroyed by battle or card effect, this card adds a dino tuner, and then destroys a card in hand. So you could just be destroying one of those, you could be destroying a baby Ceratosaurus, but that does open up extra lanes there as well, overall. And then of course the fusion summon effect could also come up, but yeah. Jurassic Power, this is another interesting card. This is a newer one, but hasn't really seen any play. It allows you to like normal summon a level 5 or higher dino without tributing. You can also send a dinosaur monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to add a dinosaur with 1200 defense from your deck to your hand. And then it gives all dinos a bonus 300 attack. I don't expect this card to be crazy, but if some of these JURRAC cards just happen to have 1200 defense, this card is able to search them. I don't love that I still have to send a dino to do it. You already have like a super strict like type of card you're able to search, only dinos with 1200 defense exactly, and you still have to send another dino for it, but maybe there's a world where this card, you look at it at least. Lost World's another one just for that protection effect, right? Let's see, what is once per turn if a normal monster on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy that many dinosaur monsters from hand and or deck instead. So this is a card where if you go through Oviraptor with Lost World gives your opponent the token, and then when you use Oviraptor to try and pop the token, Lost World can protect the token by popping a baby Ceratosaurus or a Petite Pteranodon from deck, and then allow you to summon basically any dinosaur monster from your deck. So just reiterating, this is another lane we can access the JURRAC cards straight from the deck. And then Double Evolution Pill summoning any level 7 or higher dino. There's a chance there is one for the main deck with this new engine, or it's more synchro extra deck oriented. We're not too sure just yet. Is this the last one? Oh yeah, last two. Okay, so the last two cards here. Doodle Book. This card's interesting. You can banish it from grave to have a level 5 or higher dino from your deck to your hand. You get this set up via the Doodle engine, the Doodle Dino engine, whatever it's called. It's pretty easy to set up. It's a one-of. It's kind of a brick, but if you just get it in grave, it just searches a level 5 or higher dino. If JURRAC has some of those, another way to search. And then Evolsaur Dolka. I figured I'd throw this guy out there because as far as extra deck tools go for dinos, they are pretty limited. They do a lot of main deck powerful stuff with like UCT and Overtext Quadless and what's his freaking name? No, Oviraptor, Pankratops. Jeez, sorry. Those are like their main deck tools that they usually use to control the board. But Dolka and Logia are pretty interesting to note as well because they just take any level 4 dinos and they're quite powerful. And looking through the JURRAC lineup, there were other monsters as well. But even just going through the ones we showed off here, let's see, out of these, 1, 2 of those were already level 4s. I know they have other level 4s as well. Just the ones we happen to show off here is like the semi-better ones. Just not many of them were level 4. If Konami makes them level 4, or at least one of them level 4, this Dolka could be as accessible as ever, which would be really nice because this is one of the best tools you can end on with dinos going first. So that should be the goal overall. Long story short, here's where I land. The JURRAC cards are so bad, I don't believe that Konami can make JURRAC a coherent strategy, pure strategy, JURRAC only, no other dino cards other than maybe like, Fossil Dig to search any of their cards, stuff like that. I don't believe they can do it with 4 slots. So what I think is more likely is that Konami will lean into like the Naturia lane, where when Naturia got support, whatever it was, a year and a half ago, however long it was, they got like 3 new cards. They literally just got the crazy new Cricket, the crazy new Flower, Camellia, and the new quick play spell that let them quick synchro on the opponent's turn. And so, along with literally 1 copy of like the old World Tree crap, or not 1 copy, but a World Tree and like Sunflower, just like Sunflower's just a 1-of card, and then maybe sometimes you made Nat Beast. They didn't really use hardly any of their cards before. Now this deck doesn't have quite as good tools as Naturia, but you're also talking about 1 more generic card. And so Naturia ended up seeing play with a couple different decks as a splashable engine that really allowed you to like rotate resources and control the board consistently. I think it's much more likely that Konami takes these 4 slots and just turns JURRAC into like a cool extra engine that probably, hopefully, adds to dinosaur decks seamlessly. They could add to other stuff as well. They could make it more like just generic fire support. I think it'd be cooler, and I think dinosaur players have been waiting a while, if they actually just made it like straight up dino support. That'd be cool to see, to give them new tools to hopefully allow them to keep up with where modern day Yu-Gi-Oh has gone. But that's my stance on it at this point in time. I just don't think there's a smarter way to do it. If you try to make pure JURRACs into a strategy, it's probably just going to feel incomplete unless they also pair it with like more cards from like a core set or something. I don't see it there. And so I think it needs to be as an engine, hopefully supporting dinos specifically. But that's where I land. So I'm out of here for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. Are there any other cards that you think are interesting, whether it's from the JURRAC lineup? I really don't think there is anything else that's even interesting at all from their lineup, or generic dino cards that are definitely worth noting as well. The accessibility level for dinosaur cards is so strong and so high. And I think that's probably why Konami hasn't printed too many new dinos, because like, you have to be very careful, because this deck is very consistent with its accessibility on any new engine or crazy cards for dinos. So I get it, but like, I think it's probably about time. This deck has been sitting back for a while now, and a lot of players really like it. So I think it'd be a W by Konami to go that direction. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm out of here for today. Thanks for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel for more stuff from me. I'll keep you updated on all things Yu-Gi-Oh news, even though I don't expect too much stuff like this week, maybe towards the end of the week. But next week we'll start jumping into more of those, more of the reveals we expect to come soon with like the deck build pack and stuff. But I'll keep you up to date as I can, and we'll talk about it then. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.